Hello everybody and welcome to episode 6 of Just One Word. This is just a continuation of the interview that I conducted with Gavin and Mathilde. My thanks again to them for being absolutely fantastic. I hope you enjoy. There's no camera of me due to the camera fault that I explained in the last episode, but please enjoy, like, subscribe, share. Thank you. Cool. Next question on the viewers have not written in. I come up with all these. I should clarify for this one. I got a standard grade 4 in French, and I can just speak English. So this is going to be horrible, but this is for your entertainment. Matilda.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were from Norway.
I am from Norway, yes.
Can you teach me anything Norwegian? I can't believe I put this in as a question to ask.
I mean, I'm not forcing you to. You asked for it.
No, let's do it.
So I picked, because you sent me the questions, and I thought I could, like, it would be funny to teach you to swear in Norwegian or like say something funny. For the spirit of the podcast, I wanted to like do a word that's kind of like, because. Speaking of mental health and stuff, this is a word that's like the opposite of like bad times. Okay. And it's also very Norwegian. So I'm sure you've heard of like the Danish idea of hygge. No. So like it's been like there have been books written about it recently and stuff. In Norway we have a word that's kos. K-O-S.
Kos.
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 Yeah, I told you, nailed it. See?
Boom.
Kos, which is like that's the noun, which is like it's cozy and it's like nice and cozy and fuzzy and lovely and nice times. There's not really an equivalent word in English. So kos and koselig. Koselig.
Koselig.
Koselig. Yeah, that's the adjective.
So is speaking Norwegian. Just putting that out there.
For me, this is koselig because we're having like chats, like 3 friends. We're having a nice time. It's weird referring to you as my friend. You're more than my friend, but or if we're sat downstairs and having a tea and there's a fireplace on, that's koselig. So yeah,
there you go, folks.
Koselig.
When your dog is barking, it's not so koselig.
Oh.
Well, apparently your dog likes Gavin but doesn't like me, so...
That's a first. It's usually the other way around.
Taking that so personally, by the way.
We'll work on it.
You will love me by the end of this day.
We'll move past that.
Should be fine. To be fair, we are nearly at her bedtime, so when she's tired, she tends to just be very, very placid and quiet. Well, actually, quiet-ish, because she usually tells me it's bedtime. I've had dogs before. I've never had a dog that tells me when it's bedtime, doesn't wake up in the morning. It's brilliant. Love my dog. So, obviously, I picked on Matilda there for being Norwegian, and I say picked on as a joking term for anybody that's going to comment and say otherwise. So, one for Gav. Now,
yes.
I couldn't really sit there and go, Gav, teach me something in Scottish, because I live in Scotland. So, that's kind of cheating. As he's an Aberdeen fan, unfortunately for him these days, and he does his Aberdeen podcast. What was your podcast called again, just for a plug?
ABZ Football Podcast.
The ABZ Football Podcast. Some of my friends from work actually listen to it. So, there you go. Who has been the best manager for Aberdeen, and why? I have an inkling I know the answer to this one already, but who's the best manager?
Well, see, so for the people out there listening, we've talked about this interview for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. So we were thinking back around September time we were going to do it, and for one reason or another, it's happening now here at the end of January 2025. When you sent the questions through, Aberdeen were in a really good space. And
I believe they were second, right?
I think possibly undefeated in the league, and
conversations
were being had around even a title challenge perhaps. And so with that being the case, I was prepared to make a case that there's the obvious answer, but maybe Jimmy Tilleen's going to be the one to take that mantle. It's been a difficult time as of late, so it'll be hard to argue that point. So, I mean, the obvious answer, there's a statue of the man outside the Richard Donald stand. It is, of course, Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yes, so anybody that's not clued up on your football trivium, I went to see those the other day, that's not the right word, but trivia, Sir Alex Ferguson, that Man United manager, was at Aberdeen before he was at Man United.
For 8 years, between 78 and 86.
There you go, folks.
You're like a football encyclopedia.
He is, he broke the dominance of the old firm in Scotland, which is remarkable in itself, but then went ahead and topped it all off by winning 2 European trophies, Aberdeen being the last team to beat Real Madrid in the final of a knockout tournament. And if that's not something to hold your hat on, hang your hat on.
Hang your hat on.
That's what I meant to say.
It's close enough. Same thing.
I mean, even ignoring everything he did at Man United, creating a dynasty there, that in itself is reason why he's one of, if not the greatest managers of all time.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. And just for clarity,
I can also teach you something in Gaelic if you want.
We'll go there in a minute then, 'cause that's quite a good one. Yeah, and just for clarity though, before we get to that bit, the old firm is Celtic and Rangers, so 2 Glaswegian football teams that love each other.
Cannot get enough of each other.
Yeah, no.
It's a special friendship.
It is a very special friendship.
But they do both have hold the trademark for the term the old firm.
They do.
How's that possible?
So, just for clarity there, right, go on then. Why
so Duolingo added Gaelic a wee while ago now, so I've had a little go at it. It's a very, very hard language, but we'll try. So Mook, Is, Iron Brew, Mook, Is, Iron Brew.
Book, Iron Brew.
So if I'm not mistaken, and I could be mistaken, I think we've just said a pig and Iron Brew.
Ah, there you go. That's a useful phrase I'll definitely use when I go back up north.
Duolingo, leaning into stereotypes.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Yeah, I can just about speak English. That's the way to be. Yeah, so... Yeah, cool. So, a bit of a laugh there and a bit of a joke. And, you know, it is important during conversations that are heavy, hearty. I find it's important to have a bit of a laugh and a joke in it and through it. Obviously, if you're being in a first aider point of view, yeah, maybe not laughing and joking. But in this kind of setting, it doesn't. What I'm trying to convey is it doesn't always need to be serious. And you know, we're free friends as well, which is really helpful. They know me, I know them. Unfortunately for them. But we will go on to the next question, which I read and put into my head and then completely forgot. And yet my memory's meant to be really good. Do you think it's well publicised where people can get help if they need it? So if you're in dire straits, your mental health's declining and you literally are in that zone, do you know where to go for your first immediate, your first phone call, your first reach out to go, I need some help? Do you know where to go? And that's an honest question. You either do or you don't.
I mean, when I kind of hit rock bottom, let's say that, I didn't. I mean, the first port of call was my brother.
Okay.
So, I mean, I had that, but as far as a service or a professional helpline, I didn't.
Okay.
No, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's understandable, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. I think I was more pointed in the right direction. I think the first time I went to seek help was through... in Norway we have this thing called Folkehøyskole, which means folk high school. It's an amazing thing. There's loads of them all over Norway. I think they're also in Sweden and Denmark. You go there, you can study whatever you want. I did music, I did songwriting. You can also do like politics and juggling if you want, amongst other things. So you live at school, you eat there, you study there. There's no curriculum and no exams. You basically just spend a year learning about whatever you want to learn about. I also learned to knit when I was there. It was great. It's where I learned to play bass.
While knitting?
While knitting, yeah.
Sorry,
at the same time.
I couldn't help that one, sorry.
So those were 2 skills that I learned then. the reason to bring that up is that that's the year I spent there. I've spoken to other friends about it too, who kind of agree that it was like the worst year and the best year, because at the time I was 20, and it was one of my teachers I ended up reaching out to because I was having a really, really hard time. And that's when they kind of pointed me in the direction of the and this was in a teeny tiny community in like middle of nowhere, Norway. Pointed me in the direction of like the local mental health service, which is basically just this woman who I could go and talk to. And even that helped a lot, but I had no idea on my own that existed. But reaching out to someone I trusted helped me find that. And then when I moved to Scotland, I don't remember why, but it did end up sort of being the obvious choice to go to my GP about it. If it's well publicized, I think they try. I think they definitely do try, and I think at this time when we've got, you know, Google, we've got TikTok, we've got all these places, I think we've hit 1 hour.
No, you haven't.
Oh, no, we haven't.
No,
Sorry.
you're all good. It's my computer telling me it's got low disk space because I was playing a game on it.
Sorry, I've just made that really awkward for you to
No,
edit.
no, it's all good. My housekeeping is terrible.
I think it is easier now to find things because you can, like, even I know people who just chat to an AI because it's useful to just write things out. You know, there's so many tools. I think it can be hard to know where they are and exactly where you need to go, and especially if you're struggling with your mental health, you're not necessarily in a place to go and search for things. So I think places do try, charities do try, the government tries, but it can be quite hard to find where you should go.
Yeah, I think likewise, I ended up having a pretty good relationship with my GP. So yeah, she was someone I knew I could go to, and also, I mean, I was lucky also to have a therapist that, you know, I got on with really well, and I think she had a genuine concern for my well-being at that point. So between the two of them, that's kind of how I got dragged out of that pit.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I think knowing that you can, I don't know if a lot of people know that you can go to your GP about mental health stuff as well, because it's often like, you know, more physical ailments that you'll go there for, but they are I've never not, because I think that was a fear as well. I was like, oh, are they going to take me seriously? Are they just going to think I'm trying to get out of work or whatever? And no, they take it very, at least the doctors that I've spoken to, and like your experience as well, has been they do take it really seriously.
Yeah, although I would point out that was pre-COVID, and I know that getting
Fair
to a
enough.
GP now compared to then is
That's true.
far harder for any reason.
Yeah. So I think you're 100% right in what you're both saying there. I think for us, you know, pre-COVID into COVID, slightly different to where we are now. The point there about GP, it is more difficult to get more difficult to get a GP appointment, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do that. We should. But one thing to note now, again, this is only UK based, I'm not quite international enough yet to know every number, but if you phone 111 and then you click option 2, you get through to an emergency therapist straight away. Apparently, so I read. So the NHS have released that very recently as an urgent thing. So if you are listening or feeling like you need to talk to somebody urgently, that is an option, as well as what we mentioned earlier on. So bear that in mind, but I think they're very valid points, especially pre-COVID, because COVID did change mental health. There's no denying COVID changed mental health. You can't not say that. That's a bit like, you know, you watch a zombie film and then at the end they all turn around and go, there's nothing. You know, the world just ended, but there's nothing. It doesn't work that way. So I would certainly stress that COVID changed a lot of things and maybe brought mental health into the spotlight after COVID a little bit more. But
That's true.
Pre-COVID, it was a lot more difficult to get information. As you can tell, I'm buying time because we've got 15 seconds until an hour. And I might keep that part in as well.
Very intrigued.
Yeah, so am I.
This is very exciting. We're literally just watching the recording go now.
Yeah.
5,
This is making
4,
for good content.
3, 2, 1.
And it keeps sticking, perfect.
Keeps going.
Yeah, perfect.
Yay, we're still rolling.
Ironically funny that I've never went over an hour because I only record songs
Enter
at 4
us.
minutes.
And then you bring someone from the ABZ Photo Podcast and your run times just...
I'm more looking forward to trying to edit it down. I'll probably sit there.
I
I don't want to do it
I
though.
probably shouldn't have done that because that was a very Elon Musk type thing.
Yeah, that's not what you
No.
want to do.
No muskies. No
Yeah.
muskies.
Just cut that from
We'll
the
maybe
video.
cut that part out.
I'll just insert something over it instead and then back it.
Just blur him. Completely censored.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, I'm
Oh.
the one who's been going on tangents, so, you know, it's...
No, it's
He was just giving his heart.
No, at the end of the day, for me personally, it's all useful. It's a different perspective on mental health. It's a different thought process. Everybody's different. Everybody
Yeah.
deals and thinks differently. So that's why I want to do Q&As with people.
Yeah.
Because listening to me and go, oh, I did this and I do that and I do this, doesn't mean it's going to work. I
Yeah.
always say it's not a one-size-fits-all illness.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And I think it's also important to, like, if you do try reaching out to someone and you find that you're not, I don't know, you kind of hit a wall or it doesn't really work for you, there are other options. I feel like it's so hard to reach out, and if you reach out and you hit the wrong track, it's really hard to turn around and try something else. But it's so important to keep going and keep trying. And like, also, I've gone to see a lot of different psychologists, I can't even speak, psychologists, and, you know, tried different medication and tried different forms of therapy, and eventually you will find what works for you.
Yeah.
You've got to gel with the person.
Very.
Yeah.
100%.
It's a hard process, but it's so worthwhile.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
so worthwhile.
Yeah. It's a lot of trial and error.
There's
Yeah.
a wise man, and I can't name his names for obvious reasons. There's a wise man who I spoke to a lot, and one of the things he used to say was, when you sign up for something like counselling or therapy or talk to your GP or go along to a mental health chat group, if there are any in your area, you've passed step 1. You're already on step 2
Yeah.
or 3 because you've acknowledged something's not right. You've then went to act on it, and then when you walk through the door, that's step 3. Then step forwards, you might talk about it. But again, I try to use visuals a lot, because I'm creative to a degree. I can't actually draw, but I'm creative to a degree. The journey, and that's what that points to me.
Yeah.
You might get knocked back a bit. You know, I've done counselling, come out with it, felt great. 3 months later, felt awful, went back to counselling because of that. It's all part of the journey. Sometimes there are knockbacks. You have to keep trying. As Mathilde says, and she's quite right, you gotta keep pushing, you gotta keep trying. Most of my TikTok videos, I say push on. I'm not meaning push on nastily, I'm meaning just let's try and push on. Yeah. Right, that leads us beautifully somehow on to the next question, which was, this is more like maybe a bit of an advice question, because that makes sense. I don't know how else to word it, it's an advice question. When your mental health is low, when you feel like you're feeling a bit low, and I'm not talking here about your bang rock bottom douche, no, down and out, no. When we start to feel a bit off, a bit funny, what do you guys generally do to help you? So, to put some context into that, there's a term called reactivation. For anybody that doesn't know, I think I've mentioned it before, I can't remember. Reactivation is when you pick small activities that you would like to help bring your mood up. 9 times out of 10, and I say 9 times out of 10 because there's one case that it didn't happen, a therapist will instantly go for reactivation first, because it is important. You need to feel a bit better. So when I start to slip, I pick up one of these things, or I start writing things, or I start becoming more and more creative. I'm already a creative person, but I start becoming obsessively creative because it makes me feel better, because that's what I lean on, that's what I do. So for you guys, when you're there, apart from doggy cuddles, because everybody has doggy cuddles, what do you guys do?
I think, and this is again just part of trial and error, isn't it? As far as finding out what works for you and what doesn't. Goes for therapies and medication. I mean, you know, I've went through like group therapy and what was the program called? Man Chat, when that kicked off in that.
Yes, Man Chat.
And, it did some incredible things, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. And I was on sertraline for a while, and that also just made me feel really uncomfortable, so came off that. And to pertains to your question, I mean, I think I've always known what worked for me. But, it's the case of being proactive about it and not letting yourself get to the point where you don't find joy in the things you know.
Yeah.
You find joy in. In my case, I mean, I tried everything, Meditation. I can't meditate. Far too fidgety a person to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just sit there, I'm like, okay, my mind is meant to be empty. Am I doing this right? Doesn't feel like I'm doing this right. So, unfortunately for me, I've uncovered that the things that make me feel better about myself is long distance running.
Nothing unfortunate
and
about it.
lifting weights. So I like to
Unfortunately
physically torture myself to escape that situation. But yeah, that's that is actually my meditation. That's when my mind is the clearest, because all I can focus on is getting my foot in front of the next.
I 100% get that. So before we jump over to Mathilde there, that's exercise. Anyway, you Google it, mental health, exercise.
It's the annoying truth is that they're right. That's the annoying part, is that it's actually true.
They are. Within reason, if you generally can't exercise for whatever reason, there are other things. No, exercise not be all and end all. But certainly, you mentioned there about meditation. So when I used to work out way back when, I found it quite therapeutic as well, because I'd have earphones in, but then you're starting to think about things like when you're doing a squat or when you're doing a deadlift or maybe even overhead, you start to brace, you start to breathe, you start thinking about the breath. And what you're actually doing is almost a form of meditation anyway, because meditation makes you breathe to a rhythm. And that rhythm's you need to slow your heart rate down to around 60 BPM to, I can't remember the other fact. But yeah, so 100% exercise. Yeah. I mean, running's not for me, I'm just going to put that out.
But yeah, I mean, like say when I've got my earphones in, the tunes need to be a certain beat, so they're usually fairly positive and happy, and I listen to a lot of Paramore and they're just incredible, so that's one thing. But yeah, when I'm running, 10k, half marathon, one front of the other, that's all I'm thinking about. So yeah, that's my escape.
And if you can get active, try it. Just try it. Maybe, I've said about running, maybe just go for a walk. I like a walk, headphones in, disappear for an hour in my head, just have a wander.
I mean, I promise we're not offering a one-size-fits-all solution, but the dog.
The dog is kind of one size.
The dog who makes you go take him for a walk, and then you're like, I really don't want to do this, and then half an hour later, I'm really happy we're doing this. Yeah,
no, dogs are always helpful. Pets anyway, it does release the happiness hormone in your head when you want a pet anyway. So, yeah, no, two really good suggestions there.
Yeah, so this this is also something I could talk about for a very long time. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, now, a lot thanks to Gavin and a lot thanks to where I'm at in my life right now, also with the dog, I am generally doing better than I ever have been before in my life. So I'm trying, when I looked at this question initially, I was like, I want to kind of go back to see what I used to do as well, and the tricks that I've learned, or not tricks, but tools that I've learned, because I used to really focus on what I should be doing, what do people say is good for you, that you should be doing, and it was generally, and I think that was a good point that we were mentioning earlier, is meditation doesn't have to be sitting still trying to clear your head. That's not all mindfulness is. You can exercise, you can go for a walk with a dog, you can just sit down and breathe. I find that one thing that really genuinely helps me now is just stopping and taking a few, this sounds such a cliche, but it genuinely does work. And it's you can do it at any time, is just taking some deep breaths. And it's obviously it's different if you're having a panic attack and stuff, there's different things you can do and blah blah blah. This is more generally for just feeling a little, it's before you've got to that point, right?
A little anxious, a little uncomfortable.
yeah, just taking some deep breaths and just feeling yourself breathe into your back and your sides and your belly and just like filling yourself with air. I find singing really helps for that reason. Like putting something stupid on or putting something really sad on can also help, but just singing out loud has been really nice. I find putting words to what I'm thinking. So because I used to just let those slightly bad days and that slightly bad mood just completely overwhelm me. And it felt completely out of my control. One thing that I've learned to start and do now is if I can feel it coming, I try to write or just speak into a voice note. And I can delete it afterwards, but just putting... And I'm very lucky to have a couple of friends who actually we like listening to each other voice notes, and we call them podcasts. But just, having some way of putting words to what you're going through and putting it, like just making it concrete and tangible, either by writing it down or by saying it out loud, I find it very often makes whatever it is that's happening in my body kind of dissipate.
It sounds like you're journaling.
I do journal. Oh, I don't journal as much anymore, but I used to journal a lot. And I journal on occasion. And journaling, I love it. I love journaling. I have so many notebooks. We both have an unhealthy amount of notebooks.
Full of them.
But yeah, journaling, and you mentioned earlier, like poetry is such a release as well, because just writing down random words that become a poem. Another thing that I love to do, I know I'm saying a lot of things, but I like doing a lot of things, and I can't just choose one. So I'm going to keep saying things. Painting and drawing. I'm not very good at it either, but I love doing it, because it's like no
Disclaimer,
pressure.
I've seen Mathilde's drawings, and she's kind of good at it.
Thank you. No, but honestly, like just run to Hobbycraft and get some, like have it on hand, and just have some paint and a canvas and just see what happens with it. It doesn't have to be good. I don't even know what good means in that sense. It's just like put some things on a canvas, have some music on in the background if you want, and just see what happens. And then have a little glass of Ribena if you want. And just like, it's such a release. And the nice thing about it is that you've made something. And you've created something with whatever it is that's happened to you. You've either written some pages in a journal, made a poem, created a picture, or given a little podcast to a friend sharing what you're going through. Like, either of these things, I find they really help. And now I need to breathe because I'm speaking so much that I'm forgetting to breathe. And, I did tell you I'm on a wait list to be assessed for ADHD. So I have put the disclaimer out already, I feel.
Yeah. I actually think there's a lot of good points in there, and it kind of ties up why I asked this question really well. So, I mean, point number one, Mathilde instantly said should. What I should do is where she started. And that's where I want to draw that attention to. Again, it's not one size fits all. Just because somebody tells you should
I feel
do
like
something.
the first thing... Sorry, I just completely interrupted you. I feel like the first thing I would want anyone to do is like erase the word should from your vocabulary.
Yeah.
It's like anytime I hear myself say should, the same with the word sorry in a lot of, like obviously that is a bit more complicated, but the word should, erase it from your vocabulary. You never need it.
Yeah, exactly. No, so the principle of why I asked this question, and in future interviews I'm asking the same kind of questions. But this one in particular, I'm going to ask the exact same way, is to show that no matter what stage you're at on your journey, no matter where you currently think you are, it's a case of, well, as a collective, what are people doing to help themselves? So, Mathilde said there about breathing, so is she doing the 4-4-4 method? Is she doing the 4-7-8 method? Two different breathing techniques. I get the feeling Mathilde's probably doing the 4-4-4 method, vocalist to vocalist. But it works for her. Yeah? So try it. I'm a big advocate in trying everything. I've tried meditation, I've tried yoga, believe it or not, that was more hysterical than anything. But
Yoga is great as well. I just have to say it. I
disagree. That's just because I can't do it. But no, it is worth trying absolutely everything. The breathing techniques are always important. Breathing slows your heart rate, it slows the mind, it helps bring a bit of clarity and calm. Journaling, voice noting, that kind of stuff. Creative outlets are great. One of my saddest ones, and I've said it before, I have a bath. If I'm really bad, I'll go and have a bath.
Oh, I love a bath. Gavin hates a bath.
30,
I love a bath.
30 minutes out, not water. Happy. Honestly, love it. Absolutely love it.
Episode of Friends on the laptop, balanced on the toilet seat. It's great.
I don't ever go that far. I'll literally just sit there going, not moving.
But honestly, that's another
in my
thing.
mind, Daryl definitely has like a little submarine in there.
Oh,
there
100%
must
little
be.
rubber duck and everything.
Oh yeah, amazing. But yeah, honestly, I find as well, like if you don't have a bathtub, having a shower is such a useful thing because it feels like you're literally washing it off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, obviously you could have a bath. I know a lot of people don't like baths, or you don't like being that hot, or you don't ice baths. You know, I've never been into ice baths, but like
Funny enough, they're cold.
they are very cold and uncomfortable. But it's a whole other thing again. But yeah, no, having a shower is very often the last thing I want to do.
Yeah.
But having a shower is almost magic sometimes. It's very weird how that works. Like it is literally washing it off.
No, 100%, because it's metaphorically doing it, but your body feels like you're doing it, and then your mind feels like you're doing it. It's actually really good. And your comment there actually about sometimes you feel a bit about it. A lot of people actually stop once you get into depression. A lot of people stop looking after themselves.
Oh yeah.
Just stop showering. I stopped shaving. Now I know everyone. I grow a beard. It's great, but I looked homeless at one point. This was just out there somewhere. This was a mess. I just stopped looking after myself. I know it's difficult, but it is really important to try and do it, because if you visually look at yourself and go, oh, I look okay, you instantly start going, oh, yeah, better. You look and go, I look homeless. Yeah, kind of doesn't have the same ring to it.
Like having a shower, putting on some nice clothes and going for a little walk, it can do wonders. And it's sometimes the last thing you want to do, but if you can get yourself to do it, it's seriously powerful stuff.
Yeah, very good. Sorry, I'm reading at the same time. Yeah, it's nuts. Why did I write these questions with so many words? I can't read that well. So many words. Bad. Definitely keep an eye. I keep making notes to myself here. I'm like, Daryl, keep this bit. Okay. Yeah. So try that again in English, will we?
You can try it in Norwegian if you want.
Like a little pause. This is recording, right?
Yes.
It's because like it's not. Like,
it's gone off the screen, but you can see it in the bottom.
Anywhere. I can see the timer, but it's still on like the 1 hour. Right, okay.
Oh, good.
Magical.
There we go.
Right, so question 11. Did you feel like you're under the test yet? Should I get the old red pen out?
I mean, I'm just waiting for my score at the end of it.
You'll get 100% anyway. You know me enough to know.
Answered too much.
Never too much. I might be here for a year cutting it out. I'm joking. So, as I know you both, and you are both wonderful. That's literally what my phone's full of, me doing faces like that. Try that again in English, or French, or German, or just a language would be nice. As I know you are both musicians, you are very wonderful at it, can you kind of talk to me a bit about any themes in your music relating specifically to mental health, but generally any themes in your music? Now, I've listened to all of Audio Kicks, I've listened to all of Mathilde's stuff. I have my personal opinions on what I think the answer would be here. That's from my logical songwriting process. There's certainly at least 2 of Mathilde's songs I can pick on and go, I think, just before I let them answer that, having a giggle on that, it's actually perfectly fine. I wrote an entire album around my own depression, but you wouldn't actually know it unless you know me to know that I wrote a whole album literally surrounding it, because that's where I was. And that's okay. You know, that's my outlet, and now I force people to listen to it. I don't force anybody.
But you should.
That's the next stage of the torture.
That is the next stage of the torture. They're going to listen to my album all night.
Recommend being tortured by Daryl, by the way. It's quite nice.
No. But no, with your music in particular, is there any references in there towards mental health in general, or how do you do it? How's your approach?
Do you want to talk about your material first there?
I can, yeah.
Is that because I picked on it first?
Yeah.
I could have picked on 2 Audio Kick songs as well, but...
I mean, there's...
I mean, you're asking me to get into the mindset of Ian Jameson, and that's a scary place.
Jamo, you're up, son.
So...
I mean, when it comes to, as I said, like, I do write a lot when I try to make myself feel better or make sense of it. A lot of the songs that I've written, and I've written many songs, are, a lot of them, I'd say most of them are about mental health. And the form I very often land on is writing like letters to myself. Like, there's very often a you in a song. And you're like, oh, it's obviously a love song. I was like, no, not really. It's just, me. There's a couple of songs where the you is someone else. But a lot of the time I'm writing basically letters to future me or past me or depressed me or happy me. Mm-hmm. And quite often I won't really know what a song is really about until quite a lot of years down the line. Like when I was 19, I wrote a song called We Will Run, which is on one of the ones that is out on all the places.
It's somewhere.
It's on Spotify and all those nice places.
Look it up.
I wrote that when I was 18, 19, and I didn't really understand what it was about until probably about 5 years ago. And then I was like, I feel like past me, I know this isn't probably not what happened, but I felt like past me knew that future me was going to go through something. And that was a really weird experience, because sometimes I'll go, like, I like my songs. I wouldn't have put them out if I didn't like them. So sometimes I go back and listen to them. Or I play through them, if I'm rehearsing for something. And then I played through this song, or I listened through the song, and I was like, oh my God, this is hitting so differently now. It was a very weird experience. But yeah, long answer short, yes.
Very, very good answer. There's a point I've picked up on, but I'll come back to it in a bit, quite interesting. And I'm really bad with remembering song names, including my own, just to clarify. But Matilda's got one, bedtime stories?
Dinner time stories.
Dinner time stories, was close, bedtime, dinner time, nearly the same thing to me.
Same.
But no, that song for me was one that I picked up on and was like, it's a pretty song anyway. But I've got something for that song where I'm there like that's yeah.
That was actually quite an interesting song, because I wrote that song as a result of going through. I finished a notebook, which sometimes happens. Very often I'll buy a new one before I finished one, but I finished a notebook and I wanted to go through it. And I read through like all these unfinished passages and journal pages, and my notebooks are a very accurate representation of my brain. It's a complete chaos mess of stuff, arrows and words and things that kind of look like words that aren't really words. And I found a bunch of little passages that I liked, and it turned into dinner time stories. And I played a lot of StarCraft 2 when I was a teenager. And there was a guy called, he's not dead, he's still around, he's still very much alive and well, called Sean Plott. His name is Day9, and he had this thing where he said, the meaning of life is the stories we tell at dinner time. And he said, I think the quote goes something like, I may be a nerd, I may fade into obscurity and be a nerd who was on the internet once, but I've got some effing dinner stories. And I kind of loved that and feel like, no matter how, I'm literally quoting the song there.
Word for word.
Very cringy. No matter how like dull your days seem, or how insignificant certain days seem, or how hard some days seem, you know, in the grand scheme of things, if you sit down with your friends and you share a good story, like, that's what it's about, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's a lovely song. Look it up.
I didn't really intend to talk about that song so much, but you brought it up, so I thought I'd explain it.
See, I did do my homework.
Yay!
I did actually send them a photo of me listening to one of their songs earlier. So I think it was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I sent you the audio kicks going, look! So I'm not even talking crap, so I do listen to it.
You talk now. You talk now.
Any particular, when you're writing music, coming up with music, doing things that you're there, like, you know, I link this to mental health, or I link this to...
So, I mean, the thing about audio kicks is that I don't ever per se write any of the lyrics to the songs, so they're all Ian's by and large. Matilda and Jamie have both written lyrics as well. But, you know, this is kind of the magic of, you know, being fortunate enough to have a friend group and being in a band. Sometimes you go on tour and you're each other's company for the entire time you're away, and we're very fortunate that we're 4 people who are very open about our lives and what we're going through, and there's been many times we've talked about what we're going through that week, what's going on in our lives, what this song may be about. And yeah, with Ian, there's definitely things that are going on in his songwriting that reflect his experiences.
And Ian's, just to clarify, Ian's their main singer and guitar. He's one of the guitarists, and he's also a very talented musician. Just putting that out there. And Jamie's the drummer and vocalist, and the life and soul of Aberdeen's music scene. Just putting that out there too.
I mean, he literally is.
Literally.
And we're lucky to have him. And yeah, I mean, we've all experienced loss in some way. You know, Ian's, you know, lost his dad at a pretty young age, and, you know, Jamie's recently lost his mum. You know, I lost my granddad when I was very young, at a time when I kind of needed him, so that was hard to go through, and likewise for yourself there. You know, there's songs in there like Old Man's Bar. That's the last track on the new album, which is very much about Ian's dad, and there's songs about our best friend Daniel, who passed away 10 years ago, who was in the band prior to Matilda and Jamie joining up, and that was pretty excruciating what happened there. A guy that had his unfair share of mental health struggles, and it got the better of him in the end, unfortunately. But we use that in a way we use our music to get through these things. There's a reason why I gravitate towards the Twilight Zads and the Frightened Rabbits and the Phoebe Bridgers of this world. It's a way of relatability.
No, 100%. 100%.
There's something extremely cathartic about listening to or hearing words that somehow describe exactly what you're feeling, that have been written about something, someone completely different, maybe about something completely different, but you just sort of...
I was just away to touch on that, actually, because there's a band called Matchbox 20 that released a song called 3am, and everybody thinks it's a love song, and it's actually about the lead singer's mum having cancer. But you wouldn't pick up on that because it does sound really lovey and that. So it's interesting how, and partly why I brought this question up, especially because obviously you two being musicians like myself, it's interesting how we approach the way we write music in any form, whether it's lyrically or bass or guitar, or, you know, we all have an input into writing songs for our bands. I am literally whole members of 2 or 3 bands. That says a lot, really. Would have every member of one band. That's a bit weird. But yeah, I actually did see Audio Kicks not long after you lost your friend.
Yeah.
So I didn't know you then, but, you know, Jamie did kind of catch me up, and I did kind of instantly, when you can kind of see it, and I just want to give everyone hugs, but I didn't, because I'm pretty sure I had too many shandies and disappeared, because I might do that. But one of the... Yeah, no, I completely get it. You write how you feel as a musician, but sometimes you write how you don't feel, in a way to make it represent. So when Matilda mentions about notepads, I have 3 notepads for each band, one for each band, but one of the bands is purely born out of my imagination in my head, So I have that notepad, and that's all dark, dingy, evil. Ooh, I like Misfits kind of thing, and Dracula. And then I've got my ceramics stuff, which is my rocky stuff, and then I've got my everything else stuff, which usually involves these little guitars, the more acoustic-y stuff, and the stuff that I release for giggles. And I find that really important to do for me. So it's interesting to get your point of views on it as well. And even though you don't write the lyrics, you're still massively influential on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still those moments, even if it's in the practice room or when we play live and we'll play a certain track, and you know, it's just at the very end of it, just a big.
It's not just that though, it's the dynamics you apply when you're playing these songs, because they feel more to you, so they become more dynamic. They're not. You're not just playing a G, D, C. You're.
Well, I mean, the tone's in your fingers, isn't it? So.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
got to be the quote of the night.
That's where the emotion is from, and that's where my tone sucks.
Absolutely not. I love
That
your
is
tone.
BS. No, I think I was very surprised when I started playing bass how differently I'll play. Because obviously I started with writing poetry, and then I wrote songs, and then I learned how to sing, and then I learned how to play guitar, and then I learned how to play bass. That's kind of the timeline of it. So I very much was in the words first, and I've always been a writer. So words were very like at the center of everything. Learning to play bass and then becoming sort of more of a, part of the rhythm section in different bands. I was so surprised, and I don't by how much I could actually feel the music through what I was playing. I never had that before, and I think especially with Audio Kicks, we are so fortunate with the group that we are, and I feel extraordinarily lucky to have found these three guys, and to feel music that just resonates so much through just simply even if all I'm doing is playing root notes, it's still just the whole song just resonates. It's a very surreal experience. I'm gonna stop talking now.
I'm gonna stop talking now.
For a minute.
No, I get that. I get that quite a lot. When I write songs, I do different approach. I try to map out what I want, and then 9 times out of 10 I could do the complete opposite. The latest song I wrote was not meant to be written, which you can correct me on dialogue later. Wasn't meant to be written on one of those acoustics. It was meant to be written on one of the electrics, but lo and behold, it's now acoustic. So it was going to be a metal song, and now it's really not. It's more like a love song actually. So yeah. So there's a bit like insight, and again, I find it important to talk about what we do as people, because we're people, and we all have our own challenges, our ups, our downs, our roundabouts and our ins and outs and all that kind of good stuff. The ride, Bill Hicks. But it's important to have outlets, and even if it's music or poetry. I've recently started poetry. I'll let these read one after. You definitely aren't seeing that though.
Very excited about that.
I wouldn't be. Honestly, I was impressed that I got words. Words were a good thing, but I won't be reading it to you. You'll be reading it. I won't read it out loud. But it's important to have some form of outlet, even if it's a conversation. When Just One Word was born, it was initially going to be born out of the symbol is a hand holding a cup, and I was going to make everybody hold cups of coffee, until I realised how impractical that was when doing episode 1. And trust me, I knocked it over 3 times, really impractical, so I'm never doing it again. But the principle is, even an outlet like going for a cup of coffee with a friend or a family member, or just a talk, just one word, hello, makes a massive difference to people. I think I've said that in a few episodes, and I'll continue to say that. So, you'll be happy to know your talk is nearly over. Well, depending on if the dog comes back or not. This bit makes me nervous. I will leave up to you guys if you'd like to make any closing remarks or any comments, anything that you feel needs to be brought up, bring it up, any questions, that kind of stuff. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
But please be nice.
I love how scared you are that we're gonna I don't know what you're afraid of.
Gonna swerve him.
I'm afraid of myself, to be honest.
There's one thing that, since we were talking about music and making music and like ways we use creative outlets when we're feeling down or when we feel, I think it's important to mention that you don't need to be good at that to do it, because I think a lot of the time people say, oh, but I can't sing, so I'm not going to. It's like, anyone who has a voice can sing. It doesn't have to sound amazing or even sound good. You can write a song and it doesn't even have to, like, no one has to listen to it. It can be absolutely rubbish. And it, quite frankly, probably won't be. But, like, allow yourself to be bad at it. Like, just paint like a stick man if you want to. Or just colours. Like, just, it doesn't have to be good. And the fear of doing something that is good and something we can monetize and something we can publish or whatever so often stifles creativity and creativity. And I think it's just really important to underline that anyone can use creative outlets, even if you feel like you're not innately a creative person, or whatever the hell talented means. It's like, you just try it and don't be scared to do it.
100%. Absolutely. You don't need to be good at something just to do it. Yeah.
And challenging yourself to do something that you've never done before can be a really, really nice cathartic experience.
Yeah. And then sense of achievement when you sit there and you've wrote a verse or you've wrote a chorus or you baked a loaf of bread. I did that once. It actually come out alright.
Yeah.
Sorry, that one. But really,
baking, actually.
Baking. Yeah.
Baking is great.
Creative outlets, and try them. Yeah, you don't need to be good.
And like we said earlier, whether you're trying to get more active, once you step into the gym, that's the hardest part done.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty about closing I'll give you an.
And that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Apologies for the cut short there. Gav was telling a story about football, but unfortunately it did corrupt. I will, however, fix that and get that out as a short, because it was quite a funny story. But I hope you got something from that. Next episode we'll talk about stress, I think, and all things around that. But for now, remember, you matter, you're important, you are loved, and we'll talk soon. Big thanks to Gavin and Mathilde.